Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. Welcome back to the show, Mark.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Mark, according to the Globe and Mail, the 10-year Treasury yield has overtaken the S&P 500 dividend payout. What does that mean?
Well, I guess that means that people are going to be looking for bonds versus stocks, I suppose, at some point. You know, there's less interest in the equity markets, if that's what you're saying. I'm not familiar with all those details, but I have been bearish on the bond market here, and interest rates have been ticking up, and we've been long the inverse ETF. And, you know, this is a little bit of a canary in the coal mine. You know, things start creeping up despite what Chairman Powell at the Federal Reserve says he's going to do or not do with interest rates. So it's real interesting stuff. I mean, you know, we're in debt up to our ears. There's more debt coming. The money really doesn't exist. It's just printed on a computer. So at some point, there's going to be a blow-up. An outlier event is going to hit. Something's going to trigger it, and these are just the early warnings of it.
How soon do you think we're going to see the fallout?
It's already starting, in my opinion. You know, basically, I'm not too happy about how 2021 is going to unfold. So, you know, I'm not sure we're going to have a lot of trading opportunities, but I think this is going to be a bear market year. The January barometer said so. You know, the month was down as compared to December. So, you know, what they've given us, they may take us away. You know, all the excitement out there. It was a stock picker's market. It was sector driven. You know, cannabis ran up after the Democrats, or just before the Democrats got in and the alleged president took office, and the infrastructure plays ran up because of the spending that's going to be coming, and solar, you know, ran up, but now all of these are starting to pull back. Even the electric vehicle tech stocks, which ran up big, are starting to get slaughtered here on a certain level. So you know, it was a fun game while it lasted, and the party you know, may be over. So interesting stuff. We had the Federal Reserve having a little of a shutdown yesterday. Apparently, they had a problem wiring funds and securities. Checks, you know, apparently didn't get cleared for a period of time. So you know, that's sort of interesting. That even happened. There wasn't too much press about that, but that happened a little bit yesterday. And you know, everybody's sort of stumbling over themselves trying to figure out what the new administration in the White House and in Congress really means. I think Donald Trump said it. I said, you know, you're going to get a market crash or bear market. I mean, these people are not only criminal, but they're inept, and the things that they're doing, including the Keystone Pipeline cancellation, and, you know, letting immigrants cross the border helter-skelter, you know, is insulting to our intelligence, and, you know, they want to spend money like crazy. And, you know, they just, they want to mismanage the country, mismanage our political and, social principles. So we got a mess ahead of us, and possibly the next 2 years could be nasty. And I've been looking for an outlier event anyway. I'm not quite sure if this is the beginning of it or not. You know, the outlier event of the century, of course, was the COVID last year. So I'm not a happy camper. Of course, we're traders. You know, we trade stuff. We were along the inverse indexes today, and we took a trade. We were in them, I think, yesterday, the day before. Yeah, day before yesterday. We got out before the market rallied, then we got back in. So, you know, we're just we're playing the game here. You know, what my opinion means and whether the market's down big for this year or not is sort of irrelevant. You know, how did we perform in some of these trades, and that's really what we're attempting to do here. So not every stock, I guess, is going to go down, but, when the whole market comes down, the weight of the evidence is against individual performance. But I'm sure there's going to be, some opportunities, and we'll try to find them.
If the market declines, is it going to be one big crash like we had last March? Or is it going to go down in steps and kind of deceive people who think, well, it'll come back from this, but instead it takes a little tiny step down and another tiny step down, and the next thing you know, 2 years later, you've lost 50% of your portfolio?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I like your theory. That makes sense. I could see that in terms of just, I don't see, of course there's some outlier event strikes, and there's all kinds of speculation what that could be, but, I'm not necessarily forecasting a March 2020 event, though it could happen. I don't want to discount it, but, it could happen, but I'm not predicting that. I don't know how anybody could predict that. I mean, even at the time last year, I was bearish. I think I talked about at least a 10% correction in early February, and it ended up obviously being, 30%. So, things could they could unravel here. But so many nasty things happening all over the place. It's just hard to keep your finger on it. So, I'm concerned about civil unrest, the restrictions on our freedoms, the COVID nonsense with the masks and the vaccines, and whether they're going to force people to take them or not. And you may have to get some type of certification before you can get a passport or perhaps even a driver's license. I mean, all these. I mean, ultimately, people are just going to revolt, and I think that's what's coming. And it's, whether it's this year or next year, we're already seeing it in Europe to a certain degree. The media, in the Western media, at least in this part of the world, doesn't, really cover all the stories and all the unrest that's, unfolding. And I think we're going to see more of that. So, it's going to be, that's why people are leaving the cities. And I suppose they're looking to move into more rural areas. Whether those ultimately will be safe or not, we'll find out. So I hate to sound so pessimistic about stuff. I mean, you got to be grateful, I guess, that you got food on the table and you're healthy and the sun is shining, and stop worrying about all this stuff. I mean, there's so many catastrophes in the course of at least my lifetime, ever since I was a kid, with the potential nuclear war during the Bay of Pigs, Cuban Missile Crisis, and everybody having underground fallout shelters, thinking the atomic bomb was going to drop the next day. 40, 50 years, 60 years of one bad story after another, and we seem to somehow always pull out of it. So barring an asteroid hitting the Earth, I think, ultimately will come out. But you got to keep your wits about you, and you got to learn that what you're reading on the internet, whether it's off-color stuff or the stuff from the main media, there's going to be some truth in there, but a lot of lies. So you have to sort of filter out what really is happening. So what I do is I look at the markets, and I've said this before. I think the closest thing we have to a crystal ball in life is the equity and bond markets and commodity markets, because you follow the dollar, so to speak, and that's where the future really lies. You see where funds are flowing, what sectors are doing well. If gun stocks are running up, that means there's a problem, with the guns. If cannabis is going up, then we're going to have cannabis legalization. If solar is going up, that means we really do have a backing for alternate energy, and that kind of thing. So, if the markets are showing signs of topping or distribution, then something is rotten in Denmark, and you got to sort of take a defensive action and realize that, something could be coming. So I sort of look to the markets. And at present, they're telling me 2021 is going to be a bit of a nasty year with some trading opportunities. So, I probably keep some core short positions through the course of the year from what I'm seeing.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Aben Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Aben's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at abenresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, I know you like to keep your eye on geocosmic events. March 20th is the first day of spring. Does that give us any kind of indication of what could happen with the markets.
Right. I look at the seasonal patterns. We've got the vernal equinox coming up. You got the old Ides of March. Of course, we already passed the Groundhog Day event, which was due 2 weeks either side of first week of February, and we did see some correction in the market there. Last year, we recall you had a big low around March. There are some years where you get lows in March, but it could invert, and you can see a little high there, I suppose. But as a time frame, generally, I look at as a time frame for caution in the markets. So that's part and parcel to it. Keeping an eye out about what's going on the moon and solar flares and all kinds of fun things that are happening outside our atmosphere. Of course, you got the Mars landing story that came today, Thursday, and I'm watching the cameras pan the horizon there. And, what very few people would acknowledge or even believe possible is one of my long-held beliefs is that we're already on Mars and have been on for a number of years, have a base there, and it's been one of major cover-ups, among others, that our government, government holds back from us over time. It's like the Kennedy assassination information and other things that they don't feel that we really need to know or should know. So, I'm just wondering when they pan around whether we're going to see somebody in the distance waving at us, say, hey, I'm here. Thanks for coming and visiting me. I've been here about 20 years, but it's nice to have some visitors. So I think that's what's really going on, and it's part and parcel to what very few people even want to talk about or admit. Since you brought up the subject about geocosmic, basically, our secret space program, which has been underway for decades, and is probably a result of alien technology that has been reverse engineered many years ago. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there. You can dig it on your own. You don't have to believe me. Some of the testimony from some Apollo astronauts. There's a lot of stuff on the internet. I mean, I've been reading this stuff and researching this stuff. I got to tell you, almost 60 years since I was a teenager, and have interviewed people personally who had experiences, saw events. I've been to all kinds of, there's a seed of truth into every story, no matter how extreme it is. So the Mars story today, I'm sort of laughing as I'm watching the panorama there and realizing, the wool's been pulled over everybody's eyes, and they're just naive to believe that this is new information. So it'll eventually come out, and I don't know how they're going to bring it out and about. Maybe they'll make a mistake and they'll pan in the wrong direction, and you'll see the the Mars base that's already set up there. But they probably landed in a place where you wouldn't see it.
Or you see footprints, but the footprints aren't boots, they're 3 toes.
Well, it may be us. I mean, there's all theories about who's there, which country is there, whether it's a combination of countries that have set up a base there after World War II. There's talking about the Nazis having advanced technology and being both on the moon and Mars. There's a lot of stories. There was alien craft that crashed in the Black Forest in Nazi Germany in the 1930s that was reverse engineered. Of course, we had the Roswell incident here in the United States, among many, many others, by the way. We talk about those, but I think there were about a dozen significant crash events. So, you got Mr. Robert Bigelow in Vegas. He's got a big aerospace operation. He's come out any number of times, at least one key interview, talking about his belief in the existence of the alien craft and technology, and he's been under government contract doing a lot of fun stuff for the decade. So there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's really hundreds of hours of stuff, that we could research and pull up and talk about. But, it's sort of a fun when you talk about other things. So, part of me wonders if, more of this comes out, whether that might affect the equity markets and affect humankind if we find out that we've been lied to or there's other things going on outside of our planet that we really should have been told about that we weren't told about. And, I guess the average person is out there. I'm much in the same situation. You want to have food on the table. You're happy that you're able to take a walk in the sunshine and you're able to make a living in your day-to-day existence. And, you can't do much about to change these things. But I think if enough people start demanding the truth, maybe something ultimately will happen.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, with young investors, especially the Robin Hooders and so on, chasing Bitcoin and Tesla, if you're really an investor, shouldn't you have a long-term set of targets and goals instead of chasing stuff hour by hour?
I agree with you 100%. You know, if you're young and you could just salt money away in the ETFs, for example, or I guess a broad diversification of stocks and just build over time, time works for you. Unless again there's some great outlier event, something really tragic that happens, asteroid, nuclear war, something that just destroys everything, and obviously nothing means anything at that point. But we've learned over the last couple hundred years that no matter how bad the depressions or recessions or political or social crises that we experience, going all the way back even to the Civil War in the United States, the markets, eventually do move higher. So I suppose if you got a long time frame and you're not, 72 years old like I am, and you don't have 50 or 100 years ahead of you, but if you do have 30, 40, 50 years ahead of you, then perhaps you start taking that long view. Now, it's fun to trade. I would say, if you want to take a little bit of money and trade the Reddits and the Robin Hood type stock plays, it's like betting on a sports outcome, and there is a skill to trading. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm considered pretty good. I've done this for many years, and there's support and resistance levels, or you learn how to read a chart, learn how to read sentiment. Realize that news is released to the benefit of those who are holding long or short positions, and on and on and on. But if you're a good chart reader and you can put all the pieces together, then there's definitely a place to do some trading. And I think to me it's one of the fun things that I enjoy doing, and I think you could profit from it. But I don't think I'd put every cent into it. Now, you could argue that some of these people don't have much money, and they only have a few $100 and they just want to take a shot and play, so that could be a different situation, I suppose. But I would still recommend to those, take the lion's share of your money and, put it in a, long-term investment of, ETF, S&P fund or something, and dollar cost average if you can, because obviously you're not going to always pick the right timing moments, but over time you'll average out and you should do well. So at some point the Dow, which is around 31,000 now, will probably be 40, 50, or 60,000, and that's probably, in the next 20 years or so, I would guess. That's a good place to consider investing, strategizing for a longer-term play there. Look for your retirement, even though you don't think it's going to happen, and for some reason those years creep by.
Mark, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Have a great week. Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as vrtrader.com. If you have any questions for Mark or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. We're also on Facebook. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.